everyone, and
Probably
welcome.
stop reading fan fiction.
Good timing, Robin.
Gonna pretend that wasn't on stream for all to hear.
It was.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend it's not.
Yeah, that's fine. They'll love it. People like things like that. That's why they come and watch streams, because it's never predictable. Hi everyone, and welcome to Raising Voices. I'm Jenny from Jazz Little Corner, obviously, because that's where you are. So I don't even know why I said it. And today I'm talking with Godless, Granny, and Robin. Most of you should know Godless Granny. If you don't, please go and subscribe to her. She makes absolutely awesome content. Links down in the description. Down in the doobly-doo, as they say. Granny is absolutely amazing. She is the mum of Robin, a young trans man who is absolutely amazing, and I'm so glad I've gotten to know you, Robin. You are absolutely brilliant.
Oh, thanks.
And it always touches my heart to see that my volume is really low, apparently. Yay!
That always touches my heart too.
That's right. I'll have to pull that up somewhere. It's probably I'm too far from the mic. I'll just shift my mic in a bit more. That might be better. Is that better, chat? Can you hear me now? Alright, I'll wait and hear back from them a little bit, but I think my volume levels are as high as I want to pull them up at the moment, so I have completely sidetracked myself now. It always warms my heart that when I see families where there's that level of support, where a parent is there for their child, and in this case, I think it was probably particularly difficult for both Robin and Granny because of the religious background that you had originally, and it was a lot of things to overcome all at once, coming out of religion, and then for Robin coming out, and I want to hear more about that story because I think it's a very important story. I think that's it's a good story from that perspective. It's also a good story about how that led you down your activism type path that you have now, Granny, where you're talking against religious people like AIG when they come out against trans people, and I'm loving that you're such a big supporter for the community at large. And so why don't you tell us a bit about what you're doing, Granny, with your channel, even though I've covered some of it, because I'm sure people want to hear from you and not from me.
Okay. As far as what's going on my channel, I just released on Friday a new video called The Log in Avery's Eye, and it is a response to an AIG video called Sexuality, Gender, and something, but it is... I'm getting some feedback here. I'm trying to figure out where that's coming from. Okay, now I'm not hearing it. Okay. Anyway, so that was just released a few days ago, and that one is on transgender because the AIG video was completely on transgender, and that features an interview with Robin. So Robin is on that one as well. And we did get some things that were not quite right from what I figured out from some things with Jenny Morgan a little later, but we came pretty close. And so it is still well worth seeing if you get a chance to see it. This week I'm going to do a stream. I just came up with the idea like 5 minutes before we came on. Is on Tuesday, I'm going to try to do, I wanted to do something for Pride Month, and so I'm going to try to do a stream of aces. So if you are in the chat and you are ace and you'd like to be on the panel, please contact me on Twitter and let me know that you'd like to be on the panel, because I'd like to put together a panel of aces. And then later this week, I'm going to be putting out a new video, and this one is... I got the idea from Lavender Lady because I asked what people had, and she pointed me to a pastor that is really a huge transphobe. And when I looked over what he had on his sermons, his sermon last week for Father's Day was incredible. So instead of covering transphobia, it's misogyny.
Oh, great.
And I kind of wanted to get into some women's issues anyway. His sermon is called How to Train Your Spouse.
Oh, whoa.
Oh gosh, why?
Wait, I'm not going to give it away, but wait till you hear what he comes up with. Robin knows what it is. And
Oh,
Robin
yeah.
gave you some great humor ideas to go with it. But his idea on consent is something you will not believe. So you got to see that one.
Is it NFIB levels of consent?
It's an NIFB. It's an NIFB church.
So basically, their thing is once you say "I do," you've said consent for life.
Oh, it gets worse than that.
Oh, he's worse than that.
Yep.
So he's not even their line. He's beyond that. Oh,
Yes.
Oh, that is bad. That is so bad.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
Oh, we're
Just
gonna have
wait till
Julie
you see it.
ranting in the chat now because, yeah, misogyny. Love you,
Oh
Julie.
yeah, I get to be part
And
of the
John
patriarchy now. Yay! Oh, I should probably close that door.
Yeah.
So that's what I have coming up this week.
Awesome. And Robin, you've become a bit of a voice lately. But for someone who struggles with talking and getting involved with things, you've been on an awful lot of streams.
Oh, I mean, I do love talking, actually. It is a great passion of mine. I just don't like editing.
Don't like editing. Oh, okay.
Oh, I'd be such a big YouTuber if I could get into anything tech related.
Fair enough. That is fair enough. But it's always good to have your voice. Your voice is so important.
Yeah.
And there are part of the problem is there's so few trans men who bring their voice up. The public perception is often there's a lot more trans women than there are trans men, and part of that is the trans men aren't always putting their voices up, and trans women are fucking loud, like me.
Don't worry, I've taken opera classes. I can be just as loud.
Awesome. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about your story as a family. I mean, you come from a religious background, Granny. So,
I do, but it's of my own making. I was
Okay.
not raised in a religious family. I was raised in an agnostic family.
Oh, okay.
And I came to be religious in my sophomore year of high school. And I did it because I was feeling suicidal. And I was feeling like, life was of no value. And somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I know that life is of value if you put your trust in God." And I didn't really realize it, but I've really always been trying to find a way to survive. And so I went into religion and I found meaning for life. And so I stuck with it for a very long time because I thought, that was the only place where I could find meaning for life. But it was Robin that brought me out of it. Because Robin started showing me some places where the Bible was wrong. And one of the things that I had always swallowed hook, line, and sinker from the religion was that the Bible was the complete, infallible Word of God. And I had spent 30 years trying to convert my parents. And I knew that they did not accept the Bible at all. And from years of trying, I knew that it was impossible to prove Christianity apart from the Bible. I tried and tried and tried, and there just isn't anything that you can show to someone that's not a Christian to prove Christianity outside of the Bible.
You've got is my holy book, basically.
Right, exactly. So I knew that Christianity was a house of cards that was built on the Bible, and as long as the Bible is your foundation, Christianity stands. But without the Bible, there's nothing there. So when Robin started showing me errors in the Bible, and it really started with Noah's Ark.
It's the
Robin,
easy one, isn't it?
yes, that is the easy one. And once I started seeing a couple of errors in Noah's Ark, Robin showed me some protest videos.
I did not show you those. I don't even know how you found those.
Oh, really? I thought.
Yeah, no.
All
I
right,
have
what did
nothing
you
to do
show
with
me
that. I just
first?
watched. I never watched the videos of the Ark protest.
Okay, well, you showed me some. You showed me some Viced Rhino and some Aron Ra and some Apologia, and I started watching those. I must have found the Ark protest one on my own though. But there was one thing in that video that just really shook me to the core, and that was a banner that said Incest and Genocide Park. And when I first saw that banner, I found it really offensive. But I started really thinking about it, and I thought, yeah, I guess that is kind of accurate, isn't it? Um, and so, just looking at it a little bit more skeptically. And another thing that really helped to turn the tide for me was that letter that, oh gosh, it was a letter to Dr. Laura. And someone was saying, dear Dr. Laura, I know that you say that homosexuals should be put to death, and so I'm trying to live biblically, and the Bible also tells me that
Oh, you gotta be careful.
that people should be put to death for working on Sunday, and my neighbor's working on Sunday. Should I stone him? And it just goes through this whole list of ridiculous things, and that also had me thinking, and that those two things really started me looking more skeptically at my own faith. And then once I saw Apologia and Viced Rhino and Aaron Ra just completely destroy Noah's Ark, then that was it. The House of Cards fell.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that in that because I even though I was brought up in a Christian family, I was taught to be a skeptic and to use critical thinking because my dad was a school teacher. So it was a big part of growing up. So he gave me the foundations to actually move away from religion, which was brilliant, but probably not intentional. So as I grew, I realized that, I can't take the Bible seriously. But they also didn't expect me to. They just expected me to have a belief in God, not necessarily a belief that the Bible was infallible. So that gives you the movement to move away from that and go, well, if it's infallible, why does there have to be a God? And then you can move from there quite easily out of Christianity. But it's harder from that point to move from that to not being spiritual, which was the thing that I found hardest. Actually, was to give up any form of spirituality. So to go from being a Christian to being an atheist was the hardest.
I didn't have much problem with that. It wasn't as hard for me for some reason. It's kind of funny. My conversion story is like so undramatic because I was like taught just every word in the Bible is infallible, and I saw one video that was like, we have proof that fossils exist, and I was like, okay, throw the whole religion out. Just done with it because I was like, if that part's not right, then none of it's right.
So you came out of it before your mum, obviously.
Yeah, a lot. It's kind of funny because it's always funny hearing my mom say, because a lot of the time, one, I didn't think she took me seriously, and two, it was mostly just me repeating other talking points because I was like, oh, these are good points. How does my mom deal with these points? And then finding out she didn't.
And if your mum didn't have answers for them, then what's the point in believing it at that point?
Yeah. I think my favorite was I was trying to dance around like how is God moral since he murders so many people topic. I was trying to like say it lightly and be like, I mean, I can understand, but I'd like to hear your perspective on why this is actually a good thing. It just isn't. And I was, oh. That was a big oh moment for me. Like, oh.
So, did you come out of before you actually finally came to the realization that you were trans? Had you already come out of religion before you got there, or did you
Yeah.
know before?
I yeah, I came out of religion like 2 years ago-ish,
Yep.
and only realized I was trans like 3 months ago.
But you knew before then that there was something different. That you weren't
Yeah.
right in your skin, but you weren't sure about who you were.
Yeah, well, I feel kind of fine in my skin. It's more of, I don't know,
Yeah.
I see more gender as like a completely mental construct. So I feel it is a difference in the way people perceive me and how I perceive myself. So,
Okay. Yeah, because you don't have a lot of the body dysphoria that a lot of trans people
yeah,
have.
no.
So, which it's good for you because it's nice not to have that because that kind of
It
sucks.
really is.
So, in that sense, you didn't have the problem of dealing with religion as part of the problem of coming out because your mum was already out of the religion by that point. So you knew there weren't going to be those issues there. But did you have
No, my mom
worries
was
about
still in
that?
the religion to my knowledge when I came out.
Were you?
Oh wait, no, that not as trans. Sorry, I misunderstood what you said.
Yeah, sorry. No, no. I mean, when
Yeah,
you came out as trans, your mum was already out of religion by that point.
yeah,
So you didn't have that as a concern of, oh, I can't. Mum's not going to take this well. Although I'm guessing you still had that in the back of your head at some point.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. How did you get yourself past that, or did you just get to a point where you realize I'm going to have to talk about this with somebody?
It was kind of easy because I was still a little nervous, but I knew that like this is my mom we're talking about. I knew that the worst thing she could do, and that no matter what, even if she didn't think that I knew what I was talking about, she'd still generally support it. 'Cause even when I try to do really stupid things that are bound to fail, she still at least vaguely supports me while going, maybe you shouldn't. You can, but you shouldn't.
Yeah.
That's about as bad as it was gonna get.
And for you, Granny, was it a shock for you when Robin came out?
Um, not really, but kind of. I mean, it was awkward and I wasn't sure what to make of it. Um, I wasn't sure that okay, Robin is Ace.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, is it really trans or is this really an aspect of her being him being Ace? Um, and I also am looking at, Robin is at a stage in life where Robin is just learning identity. And possibly this is just part of a growing experience of exploring what is my identity.
Which, to be
And
fair, real quick, I just want to mention it could be. I would not be surprised.
Mhm.
I've had weirder phases.
And so, I'm more than willing to support Robin through this exploration. And if Robin ultimately decides I'm male and, I want to be male for the rest of my life, fine, we'll go with that. And if Robin decides, well, I'm really more
Non-binary or
non-binary,
gender fluid or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, then we'll go with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, um, there's so much variation in that in the way that the brain development happens that you could be anywhere along that entire spectrum, Robin, and you're still finding yourself because it's a case of you've had other issues as well in your past, so you're dealing with
Minty.
one. You're dealing with one issue at a time, and this is now the issue to deal with, and
Hmm.
our brains still develop all up until we're 22 or something like that. Although
25.
Yeah, around
is it
25.
25? Yeah.
Yeah.
but for most people, their concept of gender identity is instilled at a pretty young age. You know, like scientifically, experiments show that most people have a reasonable idea of their gender identity by about the age of 2, or as language develops. That is when their ideas of gender identity form, but not for everyone. It's not a one shoe fits everyone scenario.
Yeah, it's because I don't have too many memories of being, or at least no like distinct memories of being really young. And the first time I can remember thinking about gender was when I was in third grade, and I said the most controversial thing on the playground, which was, "I want to be a boy." They have it so much. Actually, it wasn't third grade. It had to be younger than that. Probably like first or second. But I was like, I want to be a boy. They have it so much better, and they're so much cooler. Man, all the girls were like, oh, "How could you?"
Yeah, it's like I think there's a large part of that for any person who's trans or non-binary or whatever, who has a variant gender identity, is the case that you will find that you're unsure of what that identity is when you're young, and then it solidifies as you slowly get older. Some people solidify very young, and some people take a lot longer to get to that point. And it is very much a
like
growth
Junk
thing.
Shop.
Yeah, like Junk Shop.
Or Vi.
Yeah, and I even mentioned that when I first heard about what being transgender was, my first reaction was, "Is that me? Is that me?"
A lot of people do. And yeah, if you're someone who like me is very heavily binary in one direction, I was very adamant about I knew who I was when I was young. You know, I did. I even said it to my parents. Well, not that they understood, not that I knew the words to explain it, because I didn't know what trans was then. I knew who I was, but I didn't know what trans was, and nobody else did either, because they're talking about the 80s. So who did? You know.
Well, Renee
I mean, Kylie,
Richards is the first trans person I ever heard of, and I heard of her in the late 70s.
Yes.
Although, as I explained to Robin, when I heard of Renee Richards, we were told that this was a farce, that, Renee's whole issue was that he was a man that wanted to participate in women's sports.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't that sound
so,
familiar?
yeah, yeah.
The
And
same
Rob,
tropes.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think it was Caitlyn Jenner that really helped me understand transgender.
I mean, there were a lot of people back then. I mean, you've got Renee Richards, you've got Gordon Bennett. Yeah, her name eludes me. You've got Carolyn Cozzi, you've got Wendy Carlos, people like that who were around in the 70s and 80s, and were figureheads for the trans movements. One of the people I most admired at the time was it was Carolyn Cozzi. She was an actress. She'd been a Bond girl. She she got married and everything. At a time when most trans people weren't able to do this sort of stuff. And she fought the fight. So she was incredibly inspiring, even more so than Renee Richards, who was a little bit before them. I mean, I knew about her, but she was a little bit before then. But now, for someone like Robin coming through, you've got a lot of trans people who a lot more people to look up to, a lot more people who've been there, done it before, especially for trans men, where you've actually got some trans men who are public and everything. Because back then it was all trans women. I doubt there was anybody in the mainstream who was even aware there were trans men. When you're talking about Renee Richards and Carolyn Cozzi and people back in the 70s and 80s, because people just didn't know. This was only to the minds of people. This was this weird thing that a few strange males did.
Yeah, and I'm guessing a lot of trans men just got called like butch lesbians, since
Yeah, I mean,
that's a stereotype.
the only big one that was probably known is I can't remember his name, but he was a porn star. Buck Angel is probably one of the few trans men who was openly out there, and he's very much a trans med, so he doesn't like non-binary and stuff like that. So he's of that ilk. whereas most of the others wouldn't have fallen that. Although Renee Richards is, um, but yeah, it's one of those things where there's a lot more voices now that are available. There's a lot more resources available because there's a lot more support centers. So for young people coming through now, there's more accessibility.
Yeah,
And
and
there's
more general acceptance.
Yeah, and you're more able to express and find out about yourselves, whereas those options weren't necessarily there for people my generation and younger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Having said that, you know, those of us who were there, we still did our best given what was available. So
True.
You
And
were
it
the
helps that
trailblazers.
yeah,
I live and breathe liberal arts.
yeah, well, yeah,
With
well, you're right
generally
in the
most
middle of that.
accepting people.
It isn't liberal arts and computer science.
Oh, really? There are a lot of
Ma-
accepting people in computer science?
yeah,
Interesting.
yes, there
Wouldn't have
is.
expected that.
It's amazing how many trans people you'll find in the computer industry. Yeah, it's an odd bod because
I wonder if
not so
that's just
much
because it's
if
a
you
young
not if
people
you're a
thing.
gamer. Gaming is different. Gaming is very male orientated, but the side of it, if you were a programmer or a system administrator or something like that, that's fine. You
Yeah, I wonder
can
if it's a young people thing, because, like, I don't know, most of the computer majors that I know are younger.
yeah.
I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Who knows?
I don't know. It's one of those odd things. Um, so yeah, for you, Granny, hearing finding out the Robin come out, was it? Did you, aside from the public
Well,
challenge,
there was
what
someone that really paved the way,
hmm,
and that was Robin's best friend, Matt.
My buddy.
Matt?
Um, and by knowing Matt and getting close to Matt and getting in and hearing Robin tell me all the problems that Matt had with his family and the lack of support that he had, I developed a lot of empathy for Matt. In fact, I've told Robin a number of times if Matt ever wanted to, he's more than welcome to move in with us. And by being able to see all of what Matt went through when Robin came and said, I'm trans too, it was more like, oh, okay, then let's whatever. And
We'll go with this.
one of the things that was kind of funny is the last time we were at the therapist's office, Robin was going through some issues. And it was kind of funny because I was going through some major stuff with one of my CASA cases. And my anxiety level was extremely high, but it had nothing to do with Robin. And so when we started talking about, what are we going to do with Robin coming out to Robin's dad, I said, I'm sorry if I'm being insensitive, but that really is really low on my radar right now. I've got this other thing over here that has me really high on anxiety. And Robin said, that's okay. And I was like, oh, really? So that was probably the biggest shocker for me was knowing that it was okay not to have that being my top priority.
Because it is a decently low priority. Dad's opinion isn't really going to change much. It's just nerve-wracking to get up the nerve to.
Yeah.
Deal with
It's
the
not gonna
fallout.
change who you are. Nothing's going to change who you are. And like you said, you're still discovering who you are. But
yeah, it's just going to change how much passive-aggressive energy radiates through the house.
I think you might be pleasantly surprised.
Maybe. Who knows? Gonna find out soonish. I don't remember when the appointment is, but I have
July
a plan.
8th.
Yeah.
It's July 8th.
It's too close. I need to order my next Transformers book so I have something to look forward to.
Now he's still religious.
Oh, so that's where the concern is. How does he deal with the fact that you're not?
We don't know.
We don't know.
He
You
doesn't
do
talk
not
about
know.
it.
He doesn't talk. He doesn't talk, period. I
Oh,
mean, you ask him how his day is, and he'll say a sentence or two. He says good morning in the morning, but yeah, for the most part, he doesn't talk, period.
oh.
He works 12 hours a day and he plays his computer games all evening.
You can see why coming out is difficult.
And that's why I stream, so that I have somebody to talk to.
That must be really hard because to me a relationship is all about communication.
We don't have a relationship.
Ah.
And I have talked to him about that a couple of times. I said, doesn't it bother you that we really don't even have a relationship? And, no, I'm fine with that.
Oh, so it's just a cohabitation of convenience.
Yeah,
Oh wow. But that of course makes it harder for Robin because you've got your dad in the house who's not really talking anyway, and but you're going to have to explain yourself because of the changes that might happen if
because
you.
then I can openly call Robin Robin instead of calling Robin Rachel, and I can start using male pronouns instead of female pronouns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll probably get a bit of both because you'll get the right stuff from your mum and the wrong stuff from your dad, at least for a while.
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows how
Robin,
he's gonna react?
Robin will get the wrong stuff from me sometimes because it's going to take some time for me to adjust changing the pronouns that I've used for 19 years over to a different set.
It
Oh,
does, but
I get that.
amazingly though, when you're open to it, it happens a lot quicker than you think it would. Most of the problem with parents who say, "Oh, it's too hard to change the pronouns," is because they weren't open to it in the first place, and they didn't want to.
Mm.
There was a block there, and it was stopping them from being able to do it. But in your case, you're wanting to do it, so you'll pick even though you don't do it all the time because you have to go back the other way when you're around. I notice even in streams, if you get it wrong, straight away you pick yourself up. It's not a
Yeah.
case of Robin having to correct you. It's not a case of you getting the wrong name. I mean, up until then, I didn't even know Robin's dead name, and I don't know actually if Robin was actually comfortable with it being said on stream.
Oh, I don't care.
Okay,
My nickname on everything was Rachy Smiley Face for long enough that I don't think it matters.
okay, no worries, Robin. But yeah, it's one of those things for a lot of people. It's that their old name can be a major source of dysphoria for them. I mean, I know you don't have a lot of dysphoria or
Yeah.
much at all. You have.
I generally do prefer Robin. It kind of gives me just like a bit of inner strength, but I mean, I have to hear my dad call me Rachel like 50 times every day, so, well, not 50 times, like 5.
But,
I
yeah.
hyperbolize. It's 50% of my humor. Really, 50% is percentages.
Because 72% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
Yeah. and the other 50% are lies. Yeah.
Oh, that is. Oh, I want to write that into a fan fiction so quick.
That's dreadful. So, yeah, so I understand where the concern comes from because your dad's still religious, which must be a big concern because depending on the depth of religion, the acceptance for anything LGBT is out the window basically. So I do get that concern.
We do know that he has a coworker that is non-binary. And he came home and told us
And
about
gender
this
fluid.
Yes, I'm sorry, gender fluid, yes.
Yeah.
And when he first was informed of this person being gender fluid, he was struggling a little to understand it and deal with it, but he did deal with it. And so I know he's capable. It's going to be a bit of a shock for it to be so personal. But I know he's capable.
Well, that's a good sign. And
Yeah, that was part of the reason that I kind of also got nervous because I remember when my dad first came home after seeing the gender fluid thing, his first reaction was, "Have you ever heard of this weird thing?" And I was just like, "I know someone who's that." So
I am going from what you said in your chat. I think Robin is an awesome name too, and it's cool because we can all call you Boy Wonder. So
yeah. Oh, I should have worn the cape.
Do you want to go get it on?
Nah, it's upstairs.
You've
They're
got
both
the
upstairs.
cape.
Well, the blue one's downstairs.
Where I thought
I
you
like
were
capes. They look
upstairs.
good. The only problem is
Where-
they look feminine. It's annoying. It's like I'm trying to find my statistics with the name Robin. I actually have it permanently saved on my phone because this always kind of has bugged me since a lot of people's first reaction is like, isn't Robin kind of a girl's name though? That Robin was exclusively a boy's name practically until the 1920s when it became an almost exclusively female name.
yeah, but it's a
Infuriating.
unisex name.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've known guys called Robin, so I don't. And women called Robin, and usually it's spelt different.
Is it?
Yeah, the Robins I know who are female are Robyn. There's a Y
Oh yeah.
instead of an I.
Seen that.
I mean, I'm sure that's not the case all the time, but it seems to be over here in Australia that it's spelt differently. So, but yeah, so yeah, so it must be really difficult in the house with that variance there. That
Tis awkward.
yeah, I can't.
Luckily, because like I mentioned, Dad doesn't talk much, don't have to worry about it slipping out through anything.
That's true. That's true. So, where do you see? I know you're still discovering yourself, but where do you see things taking you in the future?
In what way? Transitioning or?
Well, but I mean, transitioning in and for yourself. I mean, you're looking at a career in the arts,
Yeah, well, psychology.
psychology.
I want to be
okay.
I want to be a counselor. Well, not a school counselor, but like a therapist.
Is that to help? Is that because you want to help people like yourself discover themselves? Is that
Generally,
part of it?
yeah. It's kind of funny. I joke that I've gone through like a lot of mild versions of all the things you can go through as a teenager. So I've always kind of wanted to help people who are dealing with more extreme versions.
Yeah.
Robin's dealt with major depression, OCD, and pica.
Oh, pica.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, it's also a term I haven't heard before, so you're gonna have to explain
really?
it to me. Yeah.
Oh, it's not. It's just when you want to eat things that aren't food. It's awkward.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, I have heard of that. So.
Yeah. I can
So,
blame that on the anemia, though.
Oh, that wouldn't have been good to for you with pain stuff that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's kind of weird because it's like I've never really lived any other way, so.
Yeah.
I mean, the pica didn't really affect anything. It just means that I'm slightly more inclined to chew on rubber.
Robin
It's
used
alright.
to eat the erasers off of all his pencils when he was in elementary school.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the only kid who does that, though. Lots of kids chew things off pencils or chew up the pencil or...
True. Now's probably the time I should mention that I'm not super comfortable talking about the pica thing.
Okay, we will not talk about the pica
Well, I'm
thing
not
then.
close to.
Right, we will drop pica. But,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
but-
given all the different things that you've had... Something
Yeah, 'cause,
fell
yeah,
off my shelf.
OCD, depression. I mean, I don't have like fully dysfunctional parents, but you've heard on the stream already that it's not
Yes.
exactly.
It's not
Perfect.
your
I feel like I've
normal
gone through a lot of
nuclear
mild
family.
versions. Yeah. So I feel like I can generally empathize with most people going through most situations because I've been
Yeah.
through at least some version of it.
Yeah. No, it certainly puts you in a good position to being able to help other people because you've been through all these things. So,
Yeah. Also,
um,
it doesn't require movement, and I don't like moving.
yeah, you can just sit in the chair and say, "Here, lie down on my sofa."
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Part of the reason that I decided on it is when I was still going through the pain I mentioned earlier. I kind of picked it because I was like, I need a career where I can be sick all day, every day, and not have it affect anything. But now that's not as much an issue, but I'm still interested in psych for other reasons.
Well, it is an interesting topic. I mean, especially if you're
Hmm.
somebody who's had to deal with depression and other issues throughout your life, it's fascinating. I've read lots of books, so um,
Yeah.
I, I do find that side of it interesting. So, what about you, Granny? Where do you see yourself in the future with with your activism, your YouTube channel, and stuff like that?
I'm not really sure. I do want to grow the channel. I do want to continue talking about transgender issues. I want to talk more about women's issues. Um, just kind of keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, plotting it, moving forward, and finding the nasty to remove.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's hard to think this late.
No, it's early, but I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. So, was there any things in particular that you guys wanted to bring up?
You got anything, Mom?
Um, no, not really. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Well, people don't mind a
Yeah,
shorter stream anyway.
true. Makes
And
it
then you
easier to
guys,
watch later.
it is. It's easy for people to catch up on later, and it's easier because you guys can get some sleep. Because I realize how late it is. Um, like I said, for all those people watching now or in the future, links for both these lovely people are down below in the description. So follow Robin on Twitter. Robin's amazing. If you're a trans person who's
I
come
tweet
from trans
absolutely
Twitter,
nothing, so you don't have to worry about
yeah. Oh,
me clogging your feed. When was the last time I even tweeted anything?
I don't know, Robin. You've liked a
See?
few things. I noticed that. Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say I retweet Transformers art
Oh,
occasionally.
I know something I kind of would want to bring up.
yeah.
Um, Robin went to a Christian school, and Robin deconverted while still a student at that school.
Ooh,
Oh,
that
And
has some fun stories.
yeah, so that has some fun stories. And,
okay.
after deconverting, I would say one of my biggest regrets is having sent all of my kids to Christian school and just the terrible waste of money that was.
Because they would have got as good an education at a state school
They would, yeah,
Probably.
without the
yeah,
indoctrination.
right, exactly. Hmm.
Though I would like to mention, just real quick, the moment that it led to that was beautiful. I have to tell the
Oh, please,
stupid
please tell the
story. You know
story.
what I'm
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So after I deconverted, I was in Bible class, and one of my close friends, like I think the teacher brought up like the period thing with the period tense and the weirdness, and my friend was like, "Wait, that was in the Bible? I don't remember that. That's like so weird." And I told them, I was like, "Yeah, you don't remember that? It was so stupid." There was an audible gasp. This is a Christian school Bible class, and I just called the Bible stupid. My brain immediately fires up. I'm like, I have to think of an excuse, and I meant funny. Only save I came up with was
Oh
just,
dear.
the Bible's not stupid. It's just funny.
I bet you've got lots of good stories about that.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple.
It's amazing. I've got some friends who went to a Catholic school, and they actually say going to Catholic school is one of the things that pushed them away from Christianity.
Yeah, you don't leave Catholic school religious.
No.
What I've seen.
Yeah, my dad went to Catholic school, and he left Catholic school still Catholic, but it wasn't all that long afterward before he eventually left. And when he did, he really points to the whole birth control thing as being the reason why he left. My
Yeah.
parents wanted 4 kids, and they had 4 kids within 6 years of getting married. And no, I guess it was a little bit longer than that. It was more like 8 years, but still, they knew that if they stayed married and stayed in the church, they were going to end up with a whole bunch of kids. And the next door neighbors, they had 8 kids,
Yeah.
and we watched the next door neighbor mother lose her mind because she could not handle that many children. And my mom did not want to do that. And so that was primary reason why they left the church. But my dad's stories from being in Catholic school were about how stupid the priests and the nuns were, and the stupid things that they used to make them do. And of course, you got to realize that was in the 50s and the 40s.
I still think it's funny how many parents' responses to girls coming out as lesbian is to send them to an all-girls Catholic school.
Yeah.
And how many lesbians all-girls Catholic schools produce?
But another story with Robin being in the Christian school his senior year. Robin's counselor is the one that first told me that Matt was trans. And once I knew that, I realized what a precarious position Matt was in, because Matt would have been expelled from the school if the school found out. And so I knew that I needed to keep that a secret. And then when Robin deconverted and let me know that Robin wasn't a believer anymore, I know that he was always afraid that he was going to get expelled for being an unbeliever. And I kept trying to say, no, Matt would, but not you.
I don't know. I might have been. Let's be fair. I was close to being kicked out of that school. We got told to leave so many times.
That's true, but that was over something else.
And also, I was known to be possibly gay, considering, okay, so my friend and I were discussing how sexuality is a spectrum, and we were mentioning to our other friend who was straight, and she was like, yeah, no, I think I'm straight. And school pulled aside me and my friend separately afterwards and got mad at us for bullying her into lesbianism.
What?
Because we discussed that sexualities exist.
Oh.
I don't even know who hurt us, how they did, but yeah, just bullying her into lesbianism by mentioning that gay people are real.
Yeah, that concept that you can make somebody something is just ridiculous. It's where the concepts where people like J.K. Rowling and Graham Liner talk about grooming. It's like, sorry, LGBT people do not groom. You can't make somebody gay or trans or lesbian or whatever. People are the sexualities they are. People are the gender identities that they are. You can't make them that. They are that. But yeah, that religious context that it's a choice is where all that comes from. So, and that's
Robin's Bible teacher also said that transgender people don't exist.
Yeah, we had to watch a video called Transgender Doesn't Exist. That was very awkward for myself and for Matt.
So, I hang on. How can they say they don't exist?
I have no clue. I think that the logic was God designs everyone for a reason, so you're not born in the wrong body. So people who say they're born in the wrong body are wrong, and so they don't matter, which
So,
means they don't exist.
so a
I don't know.
child that's born with a body that's already riddled with cancer and is now going to die within 6 to 8 months isn't born in the wrong body.
Nope. It's
Yeah.
all in God's
So
plan.
basically, so if you're going to say that that's not the wrong body, because that's not a trial, that's not learning something from the trials of your life because you're too young to learn anything from it or to even accept God or whatever. So that's just a case of if there was a God, your God's an asshole.
Yep.
That's a
Basically.
trial for the parents.
Oh, is that how they
Oh
explain
yeah.
that? So this poor unfortunate child has to suffer to teach the parents a lesson. Your God is still an asshole. I'm sorry, that's how that works.
That's the way I took it.
That it was a trial for the
I actually,
parents.
well, yeah, partly because I went through it. Not exactly in that respect, but my first child was stillborn.
Oh.
And it was a really traumatic experience, not just for having a stillborn child, but I also carried that child dead for 3 weeks before I delivered it. Um, and
So
that's one of
you
the
and
things
you
I
also
talk.
would have known that it was at that point.
Yes, yes. And my husband was active duty Army at that point. We had just PCSed to a new station weeks before the baby died. And so I had no friends around me. I had no support group. Um, so yeah, I was very isolated. That's why somebody this morning asked if there was a worse year than 2020, and I said, yeah, 1984. Um,
Oh.
um, I forgot where I was going with this, but anyway, yeah, I know where it was. I always accepted that that whole experience was God testing my faith by having this baby die.
I always took it more as better to be in heaven than on here. And
Yeah.
cancer sucks, but I mean, it gets you to heaven faster, so lucky them.
Yeah, as Julie said, the doctrine of the suffering soul is just it's a completely toxic concept that that by suffering you end up being brought closer to God. Only if your God is a fucking masochist or a sadist, actually, not a masochist.
And,
The God,
not a
God,
masochist.
the God has to be a sadist to be like that. That's not the purview of what I would call an all-powerful, all-loving God.
Hmm.
I've made several arguments actually on my channel that if you read the Bible literally, God is the evil one and the devil's the good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. If you take it that the snake in the Garden of Eden is the devil, which it never actually says it is, but
Right.
the
He's the one
devil's
that tells the truth.
he's the one who tells the truth. He's the one who's trying to encourage humanity to better itself, and God's the evil bastard who kicks them out of the paradise afterwards because he's a jealous little shit and doesn't want these people to be as smart as him.
Mhm.
Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? Even
Right.
in Job, if you take the adversary as being the devil, the adversary doesn't want to take God's bet to start off with. God's insisting on this, and God's the one doing all the nasty shit.
The other thing that I always found really disturbing about Job was, Christians keep saying that God can't allow sin in his presence, and that's the whole reason why only believers can go to heaven, because God can't allow sin in his presence. Yet he calls the devil into his presence through most of the book of Job.
Yeah, if
He
that's not the
does.
embodiment of sin, what is?
Yep. Yep, exactly. Oh, but if you take it that God's the bad one and the devil's the good one, then yeah. Also, if God is meant to be all powerful, how come the devil can do all this stuff? The devil has to be at least as powerful as God. or else God would just, it's done. Why does there have to be a big Armageddon-y fighty thing and all that? There doesn't,
Because
because
it
God
makes
is all
God
powerful.
happy when people are
Are
sad and
happy.
still love him.
Yeah. So God revels in human suffering.
Yep.
That's evil.
Yeah, no, this looks too awkward.
Whereas Satan appears to revel in mankind's joy. That to me is good.
Hedonism.
Yep. Yep, the Satanism all the way. No, but I mean the book's all back to front because of these weird humanistic ideas of what should be right or wrong, and we are not moralistic beings, so there's no way that the God of a Bible that was written by humanity is going to be moralistic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole problem there. If the Bible was handed down by an all-powerful, all-loving, just being, it wouldn't look anything like it is.
That's for sure. He would have told us something about germs way back in,
Yeah.
Genesis, and he would have told us, some of the things that were coming and to be ready for and how to be ready for them.
But don't you remember? I think it was Ken Ham said that he did tell us about germs because he told people to wash their hands after touching dead bodies.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just fascinating that yeah. We went down this road.
But it feels better.
It
feels better knowing that, hey, you've got another crack at life, and the next one's going to be perfect, and everything is going to be great, and
that's
it
where
just
it all
feels
comes from.
good.
That's
Exactly.
the hook. That's the carrot. The stick is everything else in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've got the nibbling at the carrot, then you can get to the old laws in the Old Testament and everything and start smacking them with the stick. It sounds really nice from the carrot, where you're going to have this everlasting life, and Jesus told you to all love each other. That's beautiful. It's the
concept of heaven made me more suicidal, though.
It's the guy behind it with the big stick whacking you on the ass that's the problem.
I never got why people would be like, oh, God is real, so I shouldn't commit suicide. It's like, don't you want to get there faster?
Yeah.
That's how I always took it. I became less suicidal after deconverting.
If you were trying to sell Christianity using what's actually in the Bible up front and honestly with people, they would never get a conversion. Hey, would you like to join my religion where we can persecute gay and lesbians, and women have to be downtrodden and subservient to their husbands, and and all you guys who are not circumcised, you can all line up so we can cut bits off your willy.
I think most of the other than the circumcision part, I think most men would go for that. Hey, I get a wife that has to do whatever I say. Yeah, sure, I'll go for that.
I mean, that's the thing. If you sold it from the stuff, the bigger stuff that comes up later, instead of the nice happy bits like, hey, do you want to hear about the Lord Jesus Christ and his love for you, and that you can make it to heaven and the happy ever after life, and he loves you and he wants you to love everybody and everyone to love you. That sounds nice. It's the other shit that's not nice.
I was in the middle of a Twitter discussion about that a couple days ago. Someone was. I commented on someone's religious comment, and their response to me was, "You better, turn or burn," basically. And I asked, "Are you threatening me?" And he came back and said, "Yes, I'm threatening you, because if you don't repent, you're going to hell." And I made a comment.
Didn't you originally say, no, I'm not threatening you? And then someone else was like, you kind of are. And he was like, well, yes, I am, but I have to.
Yes, you're right. I did miss that part. And and then that person stepped in and said, "Well, this isn't the way you should be presenting Christianity. You should be telling them that God loves them and just all these wonderful things." And his response was, "Well, it's a carrot and stick mentality and sometimes you need the stick." And it was funny watching these two Christians debate how to tell people about Christianity.
Well, because there is no one set way to do it, obviously, because there is no one set Christianity, which is another thing. I mean, if there was an all-powerful God who put his actual word into action, everyone who read it would understand and know, because that's what an all-powerful God could do, and all Christianity would be the same.
I got into another really long discussion with someone yesterday. This one went on all day. And I basically said, okay, so, how do you know you've got the right thing? And he always would send me like 3 or 4 different notes explaining to me about his beliefs. And I said, okay, but the Assemblies of God say that you have to be able to speak in tongues. They put an emphasis on this part of the Bible. And I said that the Church of Christ people put an emphasis on church membership, and they say you have to be a member of their church. And the
That one church is vegetarian.
and the Calvinists say that you have to be part of the elect, and only the elect can accept Christ. So how do you know you're in the correct church and you're even getting saved correctly? And oh, I know because I've read the Bible and so I know. And I said, yes, but you all emphasize different parts of the Bible. And so when he gave me this long speech, I said, so basically it comes down to you have a religion of one, and you know what the Bible is, but nobody else does, because all these other religions have gotten it wrong except for you. So maybe you're God. Are you God?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for the concept that if you have religion, it's a personal thing. And I mean, if you talk to pagans like
Oh.
Ocean and that they have that attitude that their religion is a personal thing, and it's their relationship with how they perceive their God, and that's perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is that evangelical, I'm going to threaten you until you follow my religion shit.
It reminds me of a meme that I have saved on my phone somewhere. I can't find it. It was like, oh, found it. There we go. Religion is like a penis. It's fine to have one, and it's fine to be proud of it. But please don't whip it out in public and start waving it around, and please don't try to shove it down my throat.
Oh, brilliant.
That's one of the reasons why I really like Twitter, because I can debate these things, and obviously the person is open to doing it, or they wouldn't have posted there in the first place.
Well, some of them are. Some of them will block you as soon as you reply.
Yeah. I've blocked a couple people.
Oh yeah.
When
You have to in this economy.
Yeah.
I feel I don't. Real quick, awkward tangent, but I feel like the way I'm positioned right now, I look like a badly drawn cartoon character, like someone who doesn't know how to do proportions. It's like my elbow looks almost as big as my head. Who drew this? Oh wait, this is just my body.
It's a good perspective. Gives you a new perspective on things.
Yeah, so even if you draw bad proportions, remember, real life looks weird too.
Well, that's generally the reason why you end up with cartoons which have weird proportions, because it's very hard to relay a 3-dimensional aspect into a 2-dimensional space.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know, it's getting late for you guys. I think maybe we should wrap, even though we've only been going for an hour, because I've kind of covered everything I wanted to, and I've enjoyed this last bit of the discussion about religion, because it's always good to have that sort of discussion about religion where it's pedantic and it wants to threaten you to get you into the fold. Is just, that's where I draw the line. You shove it in my face and I'm going to tell you where to put it. So, and it's not going to be pleasant for you. So yeah. So I want to thank you both. Thank you, Granny. Thank you, Robin. This has been
Thank you for
absolutely
having
a
us.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Please, everybody, if you're watching this video, go and subscribe to Godless Granny. Go and follow Robin on Twitter. He's amazing. If you're any of my trans followers who are watching this video, follow Robin. Make Robin feel part of the community.
Please.
Um,
I might actually start posting things if I feel like I'd
Yeah.
get attention.
And again, thank you both so much. Please subscribe to Granny's channel. Go check out her last video to pulling apart AIG and their transphobia. She's a great voice for the community, as I've already said, and I look forward to seeing more from you, Granny. And thank you all. And is there anything either of you wanted to add?
Nope. I
Nope.
need to get back to my fan fiction.
All right.
Um,
Gotta start on the stream the same way.
And I will definitely stream something Tuesday night. I'm going to try to put something together with Aces, and if that doesn't work, I'll just end up casual chatting with friends.
Which is always fun.
Yes, yes, it is.
So, love you all, and have a good night if it's nearly bedtime for you, or have a good day if you're in my neck of the woods. Bye.
Bye.